Mitt Romney is one of my favorite politicians. And the only time I went against Mitt Romney was when he was up against President Obama. But after he lost, and I really believe a lot of the emergence of the Mitt Romney that you're about to see came because of his epiphany during his run against President Obama. I believe a lot of what you're about to hear came from that because in the years after, Mitt Romney became far more of a statesman, far more of a seer, far more of a predictor of the future, and far more, I think, most importantly, of a defendant of the American institution. Donald Trump is not a defendant of the American institution. Donald Trump is the enemy of the American institution. The tariff idea, anyone who understands economics, applied math and economics, knows that the kind of tariff plan Trump has isn't going to work. For example, if you also know your economic system now, even if you say you want to sell more cars in America and this is the way to do it, well, guess what? That Cadillac DTS, do you realize that 85% of that car, with its final assembly plant in America, in Michigan, 85% of it is made outside of the United States? Yeah, outside, 85%. And on the average, 40% of American cars made in America are made someplace else. So is it really going to work? Heck no. What's it going to do? It's just going to cause inflation. Donald Trump thinks the economy today is really, 40 years ago. He has no clue what's happening around him, what has happened. I want you to You gotta listen to this. You just gotta.
And let me put it very plainly. If we Republicans choose Donald Trump as our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished. Let me explain why I say that. First, on the economy. If Donald Trump's plans were ever implemented, the country would sink into prolonged recession. A few examples. His proposed 35% tariff-like penalties would instigate a trade war, and that would raise prices for consumers, kill our export jobs, and lead entrepreneurs and businesses of all stripes to flee America. His tax plan, in combination with his refusal to reform entitlements and to honestly address spending, would balloon the deficit and the national debt. So even though Donald Trump has offered very few specific economic plans, what little he has said is enough to know that he would be very bad for American workers and for American families. But you say, wait. Isn't he a huge business success? Doesn't he know what he's talking about? No, he isn't. And no, he doesn't. Look, his bankruptcies have crushed small businesses and the men and women who work for them. He inherited his business. He didn't create it. And whatever happened to Trump Airlines? How about Trump University? And then there's Trump Magazine, and Trump Vodka, and Trump Steaks, and Trump Mortgage. A business genius he is not.
See? Mitt Romney was more than right. Unfortunately, he left Congress last year. He left calling for unity, for bipartisan legislation, bipartisan working relationships. He also said that Donald Trump warned us. He was only doing what he said he was going to do. But here's why I push back on the legendary Mitt Romney a little bit. Because when it came to Project 25, Donald Trump said, well, I didn't form that. And he gave a number of us reasons to believe he wasn't actually going to do Project 25. So I don't want somebody telling me, oh, by the way, he said he was going to do it, because actually he spent a lot of time walking away from it. So no one saw this stuff coming, honestly. And while we're at it, let me be very direct and succinct regarding why the Trump tariff plan is so simply so bad. First of all, I'll explain the simple fact that, you know what? If it's focused on automobiles, hey, the game we lost a long time ago. An average of 40% of cars with final assembly places in America are made someplace else. Period. This is not the 1950s. This is not your 1960s economy. Donald was not following the chain of events that led to the deindustrialization of the United States. And yet he lived in one of the major states that was disrupted by it, New York City. He learned nothing during that entire time focusing on office real estate in Manhattan. He learned nothing about what was happening around him. And it shows. It shows. The simple fact of the matter is that what we need to do, he says he wants to improve American manufacturing that way. Look, even if you manage to realize some price change, earth calling you all out there, you the McFlys out there, the simple fact of the matter is that our standard of living is so much greater than those of the Pacific Rim nations and China that are doing manufacturing, particularly tech manufacturing like iPhones, that you would have to realize, let's take iPhones, you would have to realize a 7 times greater price in an iPhone. 7 times sold here, okay? 7 times in order to make that up. You're not going to see that. You know that, and I know that. Besides, the iPhone is manufactured by Apple, which could be here. They're making some moves toward that. So, no. All right? If you want to fix the manufacturing problem, you don't do it through a tariff. You do it through a direct subsidy, just like our friends in Japan and our friends in Germany have done, and Indonesia. You establish a value-added tax, which will gain us $1 trillion a year. You apply that to American manufacturing. In part, you're not going to need to spend the whole $1 trillion on American manufacturing. But subsidies that allow key American manufacturing industry participants to sell, say, their steel at below production costs throughout the world, essentially doing the same thing to them that they did to us. Think about it. Think about it. We do the same thing with a number of industries. We can also use the rest of that value-added tax money for healthcare, because we don't have a well-financed healthcare system considering the number of people who need it. You know it, and I know it. We can work to maintain the American standard of living rather than what Donald Trump is doing, wrecking it under this pipe dream of deals that will never come by. It's a total lie. He just wants to destabilize his country and pay off the Russian friends of his, including Putin, who gave him all that money from when he built golf courses over there in an effort to gain Russian oligarchs as business partners and financiers to keep the Trump company going, because the Trump company was on its last legs. Then he went and did that deal with the in 2014 with the Miss Universe pageant over there, selling it to the Russians. Got to know Putin and all of his friends, and next thing you know, hey, let's engineer a way to get him to be president of the United States. And they did. And we allowed it, folks. Now this is, oh, the democracy is a threat. It's not that the democracy is a threat. You know what the problem is? It's not that the democracy is a threat. We're too freaking chickens, shrinking blankety blank scared to do anything. As opposed to what we should do is say, you know what? You need to get out of the White House because you are not handling the business the way we asked you to. I don't care what you said. It's about what we need and what we want. And we thought you were going to do that. So get out. All right? How democracy works, we just have to use it. We just have to go tell him what to do with himself and stop allowing him to screw up our lives. That's wrong. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. So the vlog report with Zenny62 and bookmark OaklandNewsOnline.com and ZennyReport.com. Thanks.